and are currently being put. Every stakeholder, large, small, medium size, has an opportunity to earn, because Barbadians have to be able to have an opportunity to live and to breathe again.
Mr. Cummins have raised. Uh, there obviously are concerns, and there will always be concerns. But we've gone an extra step. And that step is, even though we require you to arrive here with a PCR test, a negative PCR test, 72 hours prior to arrival, we've added an additional test. There's an additional test that's required on arrival in Barbados by all. And I know that the visitors really do not like this very much, because we are perhaps one of the very few countries that have decided to do this. But I can tell you that we have done so from a public health perspective, because we wanted to do everything possible to ensure that this is a safe way of doing business, because we recognize the importance of having to do business so that we can have the revenue to do all of the other healthcare services, provide all the other healthcare services that we provide. So we have an additional test that everyone is required to do on arrival in Barbados.
Any further questions?
Just one for clarity to Mr. Abrams. He mentioned about some directives still being in place in terms of the bus capacity on public transport. I just wanted to know if the numbers being allowed had increased.
No, that still remains the same. Just for complete clarity, the only changes to the existing directive that expires on Monday are those changes that I listed at the beginning. So with the exception of what I listed at the beginning, every other thing remains in place and continues in the same way. So just for anybody who might have joined in late, I'm just going to go through the only changes to the directives. There's substantial changes, or there's substantive changes, and they mean a lot because persons have been agitating for them. We know the supermarkets and mini marts were agitating for them, and the village shops. So in some respects, these changes were expected to be coming. Supermarkets, mini marts, village shops are to reopen on Sundays. Automarts are allowed to do their full service on Sundays. Spectatorless sports are to be fully allowed, subject, of course, to observing COVID protocols. And competitive sporting events, including horse racing, may only be held with the prior permission of the COVID monitoring unit, with the exception of those stated adjustments. All that pertains now and obtains now remains in force. So the bus capacity is the exact same.
Good evening. Question to the Home Affairs Minister Bostic, Health Minister. Can you provide an update on where we are relative to procuring more vaccine doses? I know Barbados had earlier this year reached out to get vaccines from different manufacturers, different countries. Can you give us an update?
Thank you. Yes, we are still awaiting the arrival of vaccines through the COVAX facility from the African Medical Platform, through some other sources that the government of Barbados have been able to arrange additional vaccines with. And most recently, because the World Health Organization has given emergency status to 2 additional vaccines, which will now be on the COVAX list and the PAHO list. That is 2 vaccines from China, Sinopharm and Sinovac. And the government of the People's Republic of China have graciously consented to donate some Sinopharm vaccines to Barbados, and we are in the process of making logistical arrangements for those vaccines to arrive on island. So those are about 4 different sources that we continue to pursue in order to be able to achieve the level of vaccinations in the country that will allow us herd immunity. And I must say, I commend all of those persons who've been working with this, from the public health officials to the coordinators, all those on the ground, and for Barbadians who've been coming forward. We've done well in terms of the number of persons that we've been able to vaccinate, but we would have been much further if we had the capacity. If we had those resources available to us, we would be in a far better position. But as you know, we do not control our destiny in this regard, and so we continue to pursue obtaining as many more vaccines as we possibly can.
Final question from me. The CDC last month announced new, more relaxed guidelines for Americans who are fully vaccinated, including not having to wear masks in certain environments. Barbados, as you said, has over 61,000 fully vaccinated people and growing daily. How far along is Barbados, or at what point can Barbados start modeling similar guidelines, given the progress that we've made so far in our vaccination campaign?
Well, we are nowhere near that, I can tell you that, because there's still a level of uncertainty in relation to these matters, and based on our own experience, because that has to count for something. Remember, we utilize whatever comes from international organizations. We utilize those things as guidance to help us to craft what we have to do here in Barbados. But at this point in time, we will continue, and PAHO has given that guidance that we continue to maintain all public health measures that we have in place at this time, and we do not intend to move from that point until we are fairly satisfied and until the guidance takes us in that direction.
Well, let me at this time thank the Minister of Health and Wellness, Lieutenant Colonel the Honourable Jeffrey Bostic, the Minister of Home Affairs, Information and Public Affairs, the Honourable Wilfred Abrams, and the Minister of Tourism and International Transport, Senator the Honourable Lisa Cummins, for addressing us. Members of the media, thank you for your questions, and you for joining us. Good evening.